Today our topic is why taking responsibility changes everything. Life is full of challenges, and sometimes it feels like the world is against us. We face problems, make mistakes, and sometimes things don't go as planned. It's easy to blame others or the situation for our struggles. We might say, "It's not my fault," or "This happened because of someone else." But what if I told you that the key to a better life, a stronger mind, and true freedom is taking responsibility for everything in your life? Yes, everything. Even the things that seem out of your control. This might sound hard, even unfair, but it is one of the most powerful ideas you can embrace. Let's talk about why taking responsibility changes everything. First, let's understand what responsibility really means. Responsibility is not about guilt or shame. It's not about saying, "I'm a bad person because this happened." No, responsibility is about ownership. It's about saying, "This is my life, and I am in charge of how I respond to it." When you take responsibility, you stop being a victim of your circumstances. You stop waiting for someone else to fix your problems. Instead, you become the hero of your own story. You take control. This is not easy, but it is incredibly freeing. Think about it. When you blame others, you give away your power. If your boss is unfair and you say, "My boss is the reason I'm unhappy," you are handing your happiness to your boss. If your friend lets you down, and you say, "My friend ruined my day," you are letting your friend control your emotions. But when you take responsibility, you take that power back. You say, "My boss' behavior is not in my control, but how I react is my choice." You say, "My friend disappointed me, but I decide how I feel about it." This shift in thinking changes everything. Suddenly, you are not at the mercy of others. You are in charge of your own life. Taking responsibility also helps you grow. When something goes wrong, it's tempting to look for excuses. Maybe you failed an exam, and you say the teacher didn't explain it well, or I didn't have enough time. But what if instead you said, "I didn't prepare enough," or "I need to study harder next time"? When you take responsibility, you see your mistakes clearly. You learn from them. You improve. This is how you become stronger, smarter, and better. Every challenge becomes a lesson, and every failure becomes a stepping stone to success. Let's talk about Stoicism, an ancient philosophy that teaches us about responsibility. The Stoics believe that we cannot control everything that happens to us, but we can always control how we respond. They said that the only thing we truly own is our mind and our choices. Everything else, other people's opinions, the weather, traffic, is outside our control. But our thoughts, our actions, and our attitude are ours to command. This is a powerful idea. It means that no matter what happens, you always have a choice. You can choose to be calm, to be kind, to be strong. You can choose to focus on what you can do, rather than what you can't. This is the essence of taking responsibility. Imagine you're stuck in traffic. You can't control the traffic, but you can control how you react. You can get angry, honk the horn, and stress yourself out. Or you can accept the situation, listen to music, and use the time to think. The traffic is the same, but your experience is completely different. This is the power of taking responsibility. It turns problems into opportunities. It turns frustration into peace. Now, let's talk about motivation. Many people wait for motivation to come to them. They say, "I'll start working out when I feel motivated," or "I'll study when I'm in the mood." But motivation is not something that magically appears. It's something you create. When you take responsibility for your actions, you stop waiting for motivation. You say, "I don't feel like working out, but I will do it anyway because it's good for me." You say, "I'm not in the mood to study, but I will sit down and start because I know it's important." This is how you build discipline. Discipline is doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. And discipline is what leads to success. Motivation comes and goes, but responsibility stays. When you take responsibility, you don't need to wait for the right moment. You create the right moment. Taking responsibility also improves your relationships. Think about a time when you had a fight with someone. Maybe you said something hurtful, or maybe they did. It's easy to blame the other person and say, they started it, or they don't understand me. But what if instead you took responsibility for your part in the conflict? What if you said, I was angry and I said things I didn't mean, or I didn't listen to them properly? When you take responsibility, you show humility and maturity. You open the door to understanding and forgiveness. Relationships become stronger when both people take responsibility for their actions. Let's also talk about self-respect. When you take responsibility, you respect yourself more. You stop making excuses and start taking action. You set goals and work towards them. You keep your promises to yourself. This builds confidence. You start to see yourself as someone who can handle challenges, who can learn from mistakes, and who can create a better life. This self-respect is the foundation of a happy and fulfilling life. Finally, taking responsibility gives you freedom. When you stop blaming others, you free yourself from anger and resentment. When you stop making excuses, you free yourself from guilt and shame. When you take control of your life, you free yourself from fear and doubt. You become the master of your destiny. This is the ultimate freedom. So, how do you start taking responsibility? Begin with small steps. The next time something goes wrong, pause before you blame others. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Or what can I do differently next time? Be honest with yourself. Admit your mistakes. Apologize when you need to. Take action to improve. And most importantly, be kind to yourself. Taking responsibility doesn't mean being perfect. It means being willing to grow. In conclusion, taking responsibility changes everything because it puts you in control of your life. It helps you grow, builds your character, improves your relationships, and gives you freedom. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it. So, from today, make a choice. Choose to take responsibility for your life. Choose to be the hero of your own story. Because when you do, you'll see that you have the power to change everything.